Hi, today I'm going to be talking about how to read a chord diagram. Sometimes I find with students when they're first starting to learn guitar, this is one of the things that they find a little bit hard to understand and see how a picture on a page relates to the guitar. So as we go through this, I'm hoping that you'll have a better understanding of how to look at a chord diagram on a piece of music or in a music book and be able to play that on guitar easily. If you've got any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or a YouTube comment or something. I'm quite happy to help you out. Okay, so what you see here on your screen is a diagram of the A chord. See along the top we've got a whole bunch of numbers, and we've also got some numbers down the right hand side of the diagram as well as some numbers in black dots on top of the chord diagram. And we've also got, if you look at the top of the diagram, we've got a thick black line, and that line is the nut of the guitar. Okay, so what we've got here is a picture of the guitar, and if you look at the nut is the thick black line at the top of the diagram. On our guitar, the nut is here. I've got a white nut on my guitar here. Alright, now if you look at number 6 along the thick black line, that is the 6th string, which is this string here, which is your low E string on the guitar, and the 6th string is always the fattest string. If you look over the other side, we've got 1, the 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th string along the top of that thick black line, and the 1 string is the high E string, which is the skinniest string. The 6th string is the lowest, fattest string, which is also an E string. Okay, now what we'll also see is frets going across the diagram. If you look at your diagram, the lines going across, and if you look at my guitar, the frets on here go across the guitar. Okay, so it's as if you're looking at when you look at the diagram there, it's as if the guitar is standing up and down off the ground like mine is at the moment. Okay, so going down the diagram, we've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. What is that's the fret numberings. So it's 1st fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, and 5th fret. I've got to move my guitar up so you can see all of those frets. Okay, so we've got the nut at the top of the diagram, which is a thick black line, our frets which run horizontally to the nut, and we've got the strings which run diagonally across the frets, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, it's important not to get this mix turned upside down. So string 1 is always skinny, string 6 is fat, is the fattest string. Now if we look at the black dots is where we place our fingers to play these chords. So if you can see dot number 1 is our index finger. That's dot number 1. Dot number 2 is our 2nd finger, and dot number 3 is our 3rd finger or our ring finger. So we've got 1st, 2nd, sorry to give you the bird, or 3rd. So we've got 1st finger, which is your index finger, 2nd finger, which is your middle finger, 3rd finger, which is your ring finger, and then our pinky will be number 4 if we had a number 4 in the diagram. Okay, so there's two things we need to know when trying to figure out how to play a chord on our guitar from a chord diagram. The first thing is, which string do we place our fingers on? And the second one is, where do we place our fingers in relation to the frets? And what I mean by that, does our finger get placed between the 1st and 2nd fret, or is it between the 4th and 5th fret, or is it between the nut and the 1st fret? So once we know those two things, we should be able to place our fingers in the right spot. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take our 1st finger and start with the first black dot on our chord diagram. And if you have a look at the first black dot on the chord diagram, that is on the 4th string. So what we do, we take our 1st finger and we find the 4th string. The 4th string, I'm going to pronounce it properly. So we go to the 1st string, which is the skinny string, and we count up. So that's the 1st string, the 2nd string, the 3rd string, and the 4th string. Okay, so now we've found out what string our finger needs to be placed on. Now we need to figure out where on the fretboard does it need to be placed. But if we look at the diagram here, the first dot, or our first finger, needs to be placed between the first and second fret. And if you have a look here on my guitar, the first fret is here, the second fret is there. So we count up the fourth string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and between the first and second fret is where we play that note. So that's the first note in our A chord. Okay, and the next thing we do, we take our second finger, which is our root finger or the middle finger, and we count up. So we can see the dot number 2, the big black dot number 2 is on the third string. So we get our second finger, we count up from the first string, 1, 2, 3, and you also see that the second dot is also between the first and second frets. So we place that one on the third string, just underneath your first finger. Alright, next we've got our ring finger, or our third finger, and that is on the second string, once again between the first and second fret. So if we go count up again, 1 and then 2, and then it's between the first and second fret. And as you can see here with my fingers, it gets quite squishy up there, especially if you've got big fingers. So you've got to try and squeeze your fingers in between all of those frets, and push down nice and firm on those notes, and give your guitar a strum. And if your guitar's in tune, which mine is not, it should sound nice and clear and sound like an A chord, but mine sounds like rubbish because it's not in tune. So that's how you play the A chord. So going through that again, first thing we need to do is find out the first dot, which is our first finger, and we see that's on the fourth string. So we count up, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's on the fourth string. And what fret is it between? It's between the first and second fret. So we place it between the first and second. The second finger is on the third string. So we count up, 1, 2, 3. That's the third string, and also it's between the first and second fret. So we place that one underneath on the third string, and the third finger is on the second string. So we count 1, 2, and once again between the first and second frets, and that is our A chord. And if we have a look at it in the guitar in the normal holding position, that's what it looks like. Alright, so we've got to remember, when we look at a chord diagram, it looks different than when we look at the guitar, but it's the same idea. If you get your head around the idea of that, we're looking at the nuts, the frets, and the strings, and where the notes sit in relation to the nuts, the frets, and the strings.